Chapter 11. Jhalkari, the Fearless Woman. This is a story of pre-independence India. Many people sacrificed their lives for the freedom of India, our motherland. Read on. Once there lived a little girl in a village near a jungle in Uttar Pradesh. Her name was Jhalkari. Her parents had died when she was very young and she lived with their relations. She was a bold girl and was not afraid of anything. She could climb tall trees and swim in deep waters like a boy. The people in the village liked the girl because she was good-natured. She was a hard worker too. One evening, a tiger from the jungle attacked her. She had only a stout stick with her at the time. She was alone and fought the tiger all by herself and killed it with her stick. It was then that people called her Jhalkari, the tigress. When she was 13 years old, she got married to a soldier in Jhansi. The soldier was in the army of Rani Lakshmibai, the ruler of Jhansi. One day the Rani met her and liked the brave, honest girl. They met often and soon the Rani taught Jhalkari to wrestle, side and fence. She also learned to shoot with a gun. Soon she became the Rani's constant companion, and every day the two young women went out riding together. They fenced and wrestled and practiced shooting with a revolver and gun. Those were troubled times, and everywhere there were rumors of war. The British had expanded their territory. They had a trading company called the East India Company. Its officers ruled the people of the land harshly. In 1857, fighting broke out all over the country. Everywhere the people rose in rebellion against the foreign rulers. The British fought back and thousands of people were killed on both sides. In March 1858, the British troops attacked the fort at Jhansi. Their heavy guns bombarded it. The Rani's troops fought back bravely. Among them was Jhalkari. Never once leaving her beloved queen's side, she rode from one point to another, firing at the British soldiers with a steady hand and sure aim. The enemy fell back. They had not expected such a strong defense of the fort. The British commander telegraphed for help and more troops came rushing in. But the Rani's army still held on. When the British found that they could make no progress, they decided to gain entry into the fort by stealth at night. They bribed a man named Dulaji Thakur, a gunner, who was in charge of the south gate of the fort. In return for a large sum of money, Dulaji led them to a spot where there was a break in the wall and the soldiers made their way into the fort through it, in the dead of night. As they began to climb, Jhalkari saw them and sounded the alarm. With loud cries, the Rani's army took up the fight and opened fire, and the attacker fell back. During the days and nights that followed, the fighting continued. Though the Indian troops were full of daring, they could not withstand the British attacks. The enemy fought their way steadily till they were outside the palace. 3 more terrible days of fighting followed. Now the queen's advisers begged her to go out of the fort to a safe place. Though reluctant at first, Lakshmibai agreed in the end. Dressed in armor and carrying a dagger and 2 revolvers, she rode unrecognized through the enemy lines, down the hillside and out of one of the gates. Jhalkari went with her for part of the way. As soon as she knew the Rani was safe, Jhalkari, disguised in Lakshmibai's clothes and riding her white horse, returned to the fortress. The British soldiers saw her and, mistaking her for the Rani, as she had intended them to do, surrounded her. They led her to their commander. The commander looked at the captive closely, but he was not sure at all that she was the queen. "Bring Dulaji," he ordered his soldiers. "Dulaji will know." When Jhalkari saw Dulaji, he asked, "Is this Rani Lakshmibai?" "It is not," answered Dulaji. "Do you think it is so easy to capture the Rani?" The commander was furious that they had been tricked. He knew that if Jhalkari was allowed to go free, she would be dangerous, so she was sentenced to death by hanging. "I am not afraid of dying," Jhalkari answered proudly. As they led her to death, she shouted out to the British, "Beware, you will never conquer us. We'll rise again and fight back till we win our freedom." "Silence," they shouted. But she would not be silenced. As the rope tightened round her neck, she cried out, "Long live India! Long live Lakshmibai! Long live